mai ki tēnei whare hāpore, kia koutou te hunga kia kai ana ki te whai mana mō ngā kai whakaaro no reira tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora everybody. I'm Jennifer Ward-Lealand, President of Equity, but the first thing I'd really like to do, apart from saying welcome, no mai, haere mai, welcome to our Green Room event on sex and nudity in the theatre and on the screen. Why is it they say sex sells? If we were selling tickets, it would have been sold out. But obviously it is something very pertinent to actors, especially these days, I think. It always kind of has been, but it seems to be much more these days. But before we get into this topic with my lovely panel, who've very kindly given up their time to speak to us tonight, could I please have all the new members who've perhaps joined in the last 6 months stand up? Congratulations. Thank you. Do have a seat. Maybe just, and who's joined up in the last year? Okay. Well, that means you're, that's good. And who, oh, I won't say who I there would just be two people, because you're just members in waiting, aren't you? Yeah. To all of you who just stood up then, and to all of you actually in the room, congratulations on your commitment to your career. I really acknowledge that, because to make that stand to be part of your professional body is a wonderful thing, and Equity is your community, it is your union, it is for you to get to have camaraderie, to share things just pertinent to the careers that we all have, and I really welcome you to the union, and absolutely thrilled to have you part of this wonderful group. So let me introduce my esteemed colleagues here. Firstly, on the left we have Felicity Josling, who spent a lot of time working in the States and in the UK and Australia, and some work here. Please welcome Felicity. Wonderful Vice President here, Tandi Wright, well known to everybody for stage and her wonderful stage and screen work. I've done bios, but you should go home and Google these wonderful people, okay? That will be much better. Fasitua Amosa, a wonderful board member of Equity New Zealand and esteemed actor and most recently director too, just came off Fallout, closed last night. And so particularly close to my heart, this man. So please welcome Nicole, Whippy, long-time wonderful actress on stage and screen, most recently on a lot of very, very popular New Zealand television programs, along with Tandi. Would you please welcome Nicole, Whippy? And Hurst, my husband. Actor and director of many, many years. The oldest of the the most experienced.
I cooked soup today.
Yeah, he did cook soup. So really, what this group here in front of you probably can't answer about this topic. It's probably not worth being answered. Ask. There we go. We know quite a lot. I think probably, well, I could start off straight away. Is it better if I... That's all right, I am quite good. Yeah, so I'm going to just ask you all a question, put your hand up. Has anyone been nude on stage or screen? Yeah, okay. On stage only? Yeah. On screen only? Yeah, okay. And have you all been involved in, for want of a better word, heavy petting? Yeah? Everyone? On screen? On screen? Yeah, on stage. Okay, yeah. So it's happening a lot, and I think particularly now when there's a lot of American work coming onto our shores, and of course we all see what's going on with the Game of Thrones. That's been particularly in the news recently. It's very important to know what are our rights? What are our obligations? And what can we say, especially I think for younger actors or people who perhaps have less, for want of a better word, power, thank you, power and control. When is it right to say no? And when is it right to say not to be bullied into doing certain things? Because, and I know we've got some great stories coming up, but I know that in many situations, if you're on a film set and they want something done and it's sprung on you, the pressure of having an entire crew around you going, come on, let's go, 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 means people are often doing things that they're not comfortable with. So what's the line? Where do we draw the line? So perhaps if I could just over with you, Michael, and you could talk a little bit about your experiences as a director. Michael's directed a lot of Spartacus, and most recently, well, about to go into Ash versus Evil Dead. Yeah.
Not as sexy, but anyway.
Not as sexy, no, zombies aren't as sexy.
Well, look, firstly, it annoys me that I can't remember. You said heavy petting. I can't remember when I did it last on screen. More than the subject. Anyway, Spartacus was interesting for me. I spent a year, not only directing, but 1 year I was the producing director. So I was the go-to guy for dealing with the issues of dealing with the sex issue in the show, basically, like contractually and making sure everybody felt, because I had a clear view of what it should be, which was basically you write everything down. The director tells you what is expected. If you've signed the contract, this is not an issue about whether there should be sex or nudity in the union. You've signed the contract, and the contract will say, in Spartacus's case, if it's going to be there, it will say full frontal nudity and simulated sex, is what it will say. And then there'll be the question of doubles. And all of this, I'm just saying, I can't repeat it enough, get it on paper, because no part of full frontal nudity and simulated sex does not mean full frontal nudity and simulated sex. And I've been in that situation where an actor has been in tears because of this. And I've said that, and this particular woman didn't realise that she'd be so naked. But that's what the contract said. So it's like actors talking about getting on a horse, about being able to ride a horse. That's the first thing. Be clear that that's what it is. And then everybody is on the same level.
And obviously, if you don't want to do that, you don't sign the contract.
Exactly. That brings us to the question of doubles. But in essence, the way it works to me is, I'm a director, I've got a scene which we've all read, which you signed the contract about, because you won't have. Or if you haven't signed the contract, if you sign the contract and then it comes as something you didn't expect in your contract, it's an issue, then we talk about how we're going to do it. And as a director, my job is to say, this is what I think it should be like, because I'm going to shoot it, I'm excited about this shot, that shot. This is what we will see in every single shot. This is what every single shot will be. I might see your breast here, I might see your bum here, I might see your back. This shot will linger, and you describe everything.
And do you write that down?
Write it down and sign it, and say, this is the shot, do you agree? Yep, okay, you're fine with that. And
you're literally saying, okay, it's got to be from here
to
here.
whatever it is.
Right.
I'm detailing it, and we're agreeing upon it, knowing that we've all agreed that it is potentially full frontal nudity and simulated sex. Then it comes down to a matter of what you're doing, what are you in, what have you decided to do, you know. And then the director's obligation is not to shoot anything but exactly that which is on the thing, on the piece of paper. And the actor needs to know that, and so does the agent, actually, to be honest. Everybody should sign off on it, and then we're good. And now my practice was always to go, so this is the shot where we said this, you know, in the actual situation. Do you remember that? Yes, yes, okay, all right. So here is it. Do you want to see it? Do you want to look at it? Here it is. Do you want to see it when we've shot it? All of that, so that everybody, and then everything runs well, and the set is closed, nobody's there extraneously, there's nothing extra to what you have agreed to.
Can I ask you a question? How far before the shoot days would you have had that discussion and signed that off?
Before the first day of shoot.
Right, so before, right, so that's...
As soon as possible, meet with the actors involved,
right.
men and women, and you know, meet with them. It's always, in my experience, it seems much more precarious for women, and I can understand that. And there's a lot. You know, you can't suddenly have the directors go, "Hey, try this. Hey, grab that. Hey, reach for that." It's just not. You can't do that. And I've been in situations where I suddenly have to mediate in that. Okay. So yeah, as soon as possible, get it.
So in a mediation case, what sort of thing was going on that you had to mediate in?
Small things really, just director realising, as directors do, that the camera would be better here. And it might be for a cogent reason, your face in that moment or whatever.
But it hasn't been signed off?
No, not if you're dealing with that. You can't suddenly, it's what you said,
really.
You know, the pressure is on, and the pressure needs to be maintained and controlled. You can't suddenly have all this happen. Okay. Unless you've agreed to do that. You might, this is another thing, you might, it's all about your clarity. You might sign a contract. The director might say, hey, let's just make it up. If you sign that contract, then I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but you know, that's... Okay. I won't go on a bit.
No,
Just one other thing about doubles, just to get straight to that point, because that's important. If you think, if the producers say we can use doubles and you sign that, that's one thing. But in my experience, and I think in American contracts and Australian contracts, you need to have approval over the doubles and what they do, because everybody thinks it's you. So don't get fooled into thinking, hey, the double can do. If it's as open as that, the producer reserves the right to use doubles or whatever that equipment is. Down the line, some producer will go, hey, you know what, I think we should spice this up a bit. Suddenly, you need to have everything written down.
Okay, so this is a very important time to put in here that currently New Zealanders are getting less stringent contracts around nudity than other people coming in. And so we are seeing clauses where it says that the producer has the right to put in a double without your approval. So I'm just saying, if there are contracts coming through, on our negotiated one with Spada, it is not like that. The actor has to approve. But if you are looking at contracts, please don't just let your agent sign it, or if you're an equity member, you need it to be run by the office. Just check it out that you still have the right to say whether a double can be used and what they do. Okay, because ostensibly, as Michael said, it is you. So you're going to potentially end up on a YouTube clip, not even you, maybe your face, and someone doing something outrageous. So, and that's going to be there forever. Damaging, absolutely. So, thank you, Michael. So, can I ask, have any of you actors been in a situation where you felt pressured into doing something on set? Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about that? And I'll go with Nicole first and then...
It was actually my first experience ever. I left drama school and I was 20 years old, and I got a part on and the only part I've ever had on a big American blockbuster movie that was shooting down in Queenstown. And this was so long ago now, but all the core cast roles were international roles, and I think the Kiwis were just brought on to fill in, like we were like featured extras. Although the role I did have, she was Spanish, was a talking role. I don't remember speaking any Spanish, but yeah, apparently it was. And I do remember at the audition, they mentioned to me, they weren't really clear on what I would be doing. They said to me, how would you feel about some nudity? And I went, yeah, that's fine, yeah. You know, didn't really know anything. And then when I actually got the role, which I remember being really surprised about because I thought I did a really shit audition, and I said to my agent, oh, actually, I don't think I want to do the nudity because I am just a featured extra in this, you know, I'm not even called cast, it's not this amazing art film, I'm not going to do any nudity. And she went, oh, okay. And I went, so can you just let the casting director, at that stage, I think Di was doing the, you know, she was like the in-between person negotiating for us, and I'm not too sure what happened, but I went down to do this movie, and it was a huge movie. It was the biggest set I've ever been on, shooting down in the Remarkables. I mean, the crew, there would have been over, probably around, it felt like there were like 300 crew every day on set with us. And no one ever spoke to me, no one ever spoke to me about the scene that was coming up, so I kind of thought, oh yeah.
That's all fine, you agree. You
That's
said
all
you didn't
fine.
want to be.
I said I don't want to do any nudity. Somebody's listening to me, even though no one really talked to us at all. And then D-Day came, and it was the day before, and I got called into wardrobe. And it was this gorgeous wardrobe woman, and she said to me, okay, so you know that you're probably going nude. And I said, oh, no, I'm not. I've spoken to my agent. I don't think I am. And she went, oh, okay. So I said, so yeah, do you have some options for me? And she went, yeah, sure, okay. And she held up some little shorts and a little top, and I went, yeah, that's fine, that's what I'll be wearing. Thinking, I'm completely in control here, you know, everything's going to be fine. Then we got helicoptered into set onto the Remarkables, myself and two of the Australian actors I was working with, and put into a tent. And the director came in, and he said, take the top off. And I went, excuse me, and he went, take the top off. So I took my top off. And he said, take your bra off. So I took my bra off.
What's the first thing he said to you?
Yep. Oh, he might have said hi. He was actually really, really lovely, but he had a job, so he just wanted to get on with it, you know, when I looked at it. And I took my top off, I took my bra off, and I sat there, and he kind of moved me.
What do you mean he physically touched?
He physically touched me. Well, the other two very well-known Australian actors kind of both sat there watching me, and I just froze. I didn't know what to do, and I let him totally just do that. And ended up doing the scene, which I've never seen in my movie. And apparently I couldn't even tell you if it's in there. I know that we're very blink and you'll miss it, but I don't even think that the scene actually made the film at all. And I came away, and one of the Australian actors was just fucking, he was furious, but no one spoke up for me. No one said anything. I remember feeling like, I remember hearing, when I was at drama school, hearing things like, you know, when you're on a set, you must, you know, the crew are there, you know, you've got to be the best behaviour, so I never said anything, and I just didn't say anything. I came back, I rang my agent, and I was really angry at her. I don't know if I should have been, but I felt totally vulnerable, and I ended up actually leaving her and going on someone else. Poor thing, it probably wasn't even her fault, but I just didn't know who to be angry at, and I came away, and I've always kept that quiet. I think I've spoken about that 2 or 3 times to groups of people, usually at drama school, to freak them out. But I kind of dealt with that. I was kind of really angry with that for a long, long time, and even when I had my daughter, it made me even angrier, like 6 years ago, when I thought, fuck, someone actually took advantage of me. Yes. And I don't like to think of myself as somebody that lets people take advantage of them, but that was a real lesson to me. And I learned it really, really quickly. And that's the way I like to look at it now, is that, okay, that's the only positive thing I can take out of that, is I've learned now to stick up for myself on set, to speak up, to communicate, really, to keep, I never realised that I could actually talk to the director. You know, that someone was, you know, actually, that if I had concerns, the director's going to talk to me like I do now. And actually, we get to work with such great directors like, you know, Michael and Mark Beasley. I just wanted to say to Michael, how you were explaining about the Spartacus, did every director do that, or just you? Was that your process, or was every director doing that as an actor came in for a set scene?
I had the great privilege of working with Chloe Smith. And Chloe Smith, the producer, she sat down and said, Chloe, how do we do this stuff? You know, I get it. I don't have a moral problem with it, because this is a whole people using other people as slaves. Don't go into that. You know, I was fine with that. And she said, write everything down. And she was right. You know, she was. And so
every director.
No, not every director. They got sent to me. I became the go-to guy just because I'd been able to make things work.
Well, I
efficiently.
would say it's a rarity.
I've never had that.
But just as a producer, from a producer aspect, if I'm a producer person, it's a lot cheaper to not have an actress spit the dummy.
Sure.
And just, broadly. And even if they do, if they get, you know, this is another conundrum, this poor woman who was upset because she had to do this scene and realised that it was really more than she hadn't really taken it on board. We didn't make her do it because what do you get then? You get a really unhappy performance. We just went, oh well. And to their credit, the producers on tap just went, oh well, shoot around it, and we just shot around it.
So I think the lesson in that really, something practical to take away from that is about communication prior to the whole thing, prior to even getting on set. Actually, at the time that you are going to consider signing your contract, that you have the conversation. Because if you actually knew what was going to happen, you probably wouldn't have done that job, would you?
No,
Right,
no,
exactly.
Yeah.
So don't think because you are, and I think we do try and please people. We want to be good actors. We want to be there doing the job and being efficient and all of that, and time's money. But that stuff should never ever happen on set. It should all be discussed beforehand. So, Felicity, can you just talk about your experience?
Sure. Well, I've had one full frontal play, so I suppose my advice for that is don't bow in the round. And I'm not joking either. I was asked to bow in the round, and that was where I drew my line.
We had a ladies' night, don't just, be tense.
I think I curtsied and ran. No, I mean I had to do a full frontal play, and it was something I did do a lot of discussion around. So I suppose that I was told that it was a damaging thing to my career to do, and so that was one of the reasons why I accepted to do this, because I thought it was quite interesting to discuss. Has it been damaging for me? Has it not been damaging for me? And where was my power in the situation? I chose to do that. It was written for me. It was a very unique set of circumstances. I think, in retrospect, I can understand why people said to me it might be damaging for you. It was very vulnerable. I mean, I'm even nervous talking about it tonight, when I'm not normally a nervous person, because it is quite, I think when you're thinking about this, it's vulnerable. To give you a bit of context, the play was called Paradise. I was playing Eve. It was before the fall. We talked through different options. We talked about doing it waiting for Godot. We talked about doing it as two homeless people. We talked about doing it in swing costumes. We talked about doing it in bodysuits. We talked about fig leaves. We talked about everything. Every single time the text kept coming up with, it's got to be naked. So we did it. But one thing I will say is that the guy that I was working with was brilliant. I had a real strong trust in him. And I think that's the other thing, is to have actors that you feel that you can have a conversation with. You've rehearsed a lot. I didn't feel taken advantage in that situation. I did, however, in another film. And it nearly makes me cry when I heard your story, Nicole, because obviously that's an enormous thing. Mine was also straight out of drama school, and this is the classic. It's straight out of drama school. It was my first real film. It was my first leading role. I mean, I had done core cast work in TV when I was a kid, but it was my first role after drama school, which felt really special, and it was the classic, I'm playing a prostitute, and it sort of became a theme in Sydney that you had to play a prostitute. And you had to do a short film as a prostitute. And I was like, why? And then there was also this thing about, well, was it really necessary? Why does every girl have to have a prostitute role? And if you're not, I was never particularly glamorous, but if you're a character actor, you have to play like the downtrodden prostitute. And so being a prostitute is sex. So you're going to do the sex scene. So I was like, okay, all right, I'll do it. I'll face my fears and I'll do it. And in retrospect, I did do the communication, so I knew this. I had a couple of older actresses I was mentored by, Lauren Fowle, who you probably know in New Zealand, who's a beautiful actress, Australian French actress, and she mentored me, and so did Roxanne Wilson, who's also worked here in New Zealand as well. And they both said to me, Flea, you've got to have that conversation. And I was like, oh, I don't know what to say, I don't want to lose the job, I really need this role, And so that was the hard part for me, is I did it, but I talked about things like, how many seconds are you going to hold the camera on me?
Yeah.
Are there pink bits? How much pink bits? For how long? And so I had those very difficult conversations, and I felt like...
Did you personally have them with the director, or did you do it via the agent?
No, I did it personally with the director, which I found very nerve-wracking.
Did you initiate that?
I did.
Yeah, see, I find it really nerve-wracking to initiate that from the other...
I'm even nervous about talking about it now, but I decided that I had to do that because I was lucky that I was mentored by actresses who were very experienced, who'd done a lot of kissing scenes, and who said to me they didn't want me to end up in the situation that you were talking about. Saying that, though, the goalposts moved. And this is what I'm talking about. We didn't have a wonderful person like Michael, to look after us. So I'm on set, It's in a tiny room. It's probably, you know, because we're shooting in a bed. So we've got a hotel in King's Cross, Sydney, if you guys are in Sydney. So I already felt like a prostitute before I did that. And then they've got the lights, and then they're doing the lights, and they've got to get the angle of the lights right. Because they didn't do their shot list properly, and I think it was an independent, you know, thing, they're not as professional as working as on Spartacus, right? So this is the problem for you guys, is that the people that you're going to start off working with normally, I mean, you can get really lucky, like Nicole, amazing actress, end up on your first really big shot. You could also end up, like me, doing really kind of a lot of independent stuff. I've done a lot of independent stuff, and that's, I think, where the biggest problem is those guys don't look after you, because they just want to go tits and ass, they want you on screen, and they think every short film should have nudity in it. And is it really necessary? So I had to do a rape scene, and they moved the goalpost, and they said no underpants. And I just went into the bathroom, and I started convulsing, and I was like, we talked about this, I discussed it, did I do it right, did I have communication? And I came back, and I was shaking, and I said, can we please rethink this? Because I don't think having no underpants is really necessary, because you told me you're shooting to the waist. Anyway, it's horrible. It was horrible. So
And what
after
happened?
that,
Did you
I negotiated that I could have a pair of underpants, but they were very unhappy with me.
God, the bastard.
So you got a
Even
lot
though
of...
I'd had the communication prior, and it's, I mean, I didn't have a contract, maybe that would have helped.
Yeah, okay.
But I did have the discussions, it was a small production team, so it's not like it was grey area, like I was very clear. But the problem is that the lighting guys were like there, so I was here, and I'm being raped, right? So it's also emotionally vulnerable. It's not like it's like, there's a really hot guy and I'm kissing him, you know. It was a rape scene. Yeah. So it's just awful. So, I think that's my lesson for you guys. I mean, obviously I'm not as established as, you know, some of these Kiwi actors here, but independent film is where I think young actors really need to be very careful.
Yes. Tandi, I know that you had some interesting situations come up.
I did nothing half so traumatic. I feel lucky. But I just wanted to say before it flies out of my head, quite often these days you're asked on screen, you'll be asked to sign a contract before you read the script. So while you are reading your nudity clause, keep in mind that you better make sure that it's a nudity clause that you'll be okay with, regardless of whether you know there's nudity or not in the script. Also, if you're in a long-running series, probably this half the series hasn't been written yet, so it's still always essential, I think, to read that up front. I was playing a prostitute in Sydney.
Maybe I should move back to Sydney. Maybe this is not a good idea.
I want to play a prostitute.
Special role.
No, this is for Foxtel, and it wasn't nearly as full on as that. It was more insidious in that the series was portrayed as one thing, and it started turning into another thing, and we would be asked to, the producers would be watching filming from another sort of room, and they would slowly ask us to take our clothes off. And
Oh my God.
It started with a cardigan, and then some of the girls got us to take their tops off, and none of this had been prefaced to us in any way. And I was a prostitute. I had to do this scene where I was, my first day as a prostitute, and I was meeting a twosome, which was, yeah, that's what you do. And so we shot it, and I was in bra and knickers, and I felt quite vulnerable enough, and so we shot that, and it was all good. And then a couple of days later, on set, the producers came on and said, we need to kind of make it a little more active and a little more racy, and we're going to shoot it today. And I was very floored by that, and I didn't really know what my rights were. And I was so kind of stressed out by the whole thing, I didn't even think of calling my agent or anything like that. Actually, I didn't have an Australian agent at the time. So I did it. But there were so many things going on in the show that we just didn't feel right, and the cast and the Aussie actors were great, they're so feisty. All the women were going, oh my God, putting up with this. So we called an
Did they protect you? They were like,
well, no, I was alone with the two guys. You know, so not,
were the boys
but
that did protect you?
generally,
Yeah.
no, they were sort of models, I think. But it was hard in this instance because some of the cast were models and some were actors. And the models were actually fine about taking their clothes off. And the actors were really pissed off about it. So there wasn't unity in the cast. So equity did come in, but some people would, you know, they were worried the producers weren't going to hire them again, and they said, oh, we don't want equity. But I was, yes, we do need equity. So we came to an agreement where people who were not comfortable taking off their clothes didn't. the models who were happy to take off the clothes did. But it was just so reassuring to have someone say what they did there was illegal. You need 48 hours notice to do any nudity scenes. So just to know that it wasn't us imagining it, we weren't being oversensitive, they were just being sleazy assholes.
Yeah, changing the goalpost on the day. Yeah.
It seems like a recurring theme. Like my story, again, it involves the actress I was working with, because the goalpost shifted during the scene, and more was being asked of her, which I found was kind of interesting. But although a discussion had been had, pictures were drawn over coffee, like this is what we're thinking of doing, and this, and then we were asked for input, like is there anything that you want to offer to this to make it, to build this? Oh no, we're kind of cool with what you got going there. That's fine. But then on the day while this was happening, what was happening? Shooting the things, and the camera's over there, and we're going. The set's closed. It's fine. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah. And then this came from from the director to the actress. Do you think can we just drop the sheet a little more, because the camera's looking this way? You just wanted just a teeny bit of crack in there, just because we'd agreed that everything was going to be up from here. Camera's going to be over there, even though it's a wide shot. The sheet's up there. You're getting 3/4 shot over here. There's 6 nights there, and then it was like you wanted the sheet to go down a little bit. And I was when it happened, it was like really tense, because it's like shit, we're halfway, like the cameras are rolling, like that's the whole thing is the pressure. And I was like, what are you going to say? What's going to happen now? And the best thing happened. She just turned around and went, no. Yeah, she was right, because like it wasn't discussed. It was just something that as the director thought on the again, it just seemed like it's the stuff that happens on the fly. The stuff that happens at the moment that it's happening, that you have to be able to say no. And I was like, well, you can actually say no. Let's go. We'll carry on. It's like you can say no to stuff that you haven't been, that isn't written down.
So, but of course, the ideal is never to have that situation arise. Actually, in the moment. So I just want to talk a little bit about sex on stage, or kissing on stage for people.
Can I just give people a really good tip for apropos of that? Because probably you'll be going to a sex scene or simulated nudity scene in some kind of strapless bra or something like that. Those Aussie actresses, band-aids, a big X over their nipples, which means if the camera slips,
they're only going to see.
They can't. They're not going to use the shot.
Yeah.
So
that's the other reason why we're saying up one of the underwears.
Yeah.
Because it does. Yeah. We had agreed that, and so it actually looks down there.
And the awful thing was, you left work that day feeling
I felt like a bad actor.
Like a bad actor for not doing what you were told. A difficult actor.
And that I've had a conversation with a lot of different actresses over the last couple of weeks, because I was thinking, well, what kind of stories can I share with you guys that are going to be relevant for you? And it is the most common theme, that we're talking about, which is the moving goalposts.
Yeah, maybe you want to talk about that one.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So for example, there's a very well-known actress in Sydney, and she's given me permission to share the story anonymously. She was filming an episode of Underbelly, and I won't tell you which episode it was, because otherwise I'll reveal her. But basically, she was asked in. She's very well known. She's kind of known as like going to be the next big thing. So she's a really good actress. She's a graduate of a good drama school, and she was asked in to do 5 pages of dialogue. Brilliant. 5 pages of dialogue, core and central to the story, right? Ends up doing a sex scene. When she sees the final episode, the only thing left in the episode was her sex scene. And it was clear to her that that was the only reason why she was asked to do it.
So they lured her in with the promise of a good role.
Yeah. Now, obviously things happen, right? Scenes get cut. It's not good enough, it doesn't fit the story. But when you've got 5 scenes of dialogue, you can maybe get 2 scenes maximum cut.
Yeah.
You're not going to get 5 scenes maximum cut.
Yeah.
It felt very, so I've got a few stories like that. I won't go into all of them, but you get the idea. It does happen on big-time TV shows as well, not just in independent stuff.
Yes. Obviously, we have a problem with actors not being given scripts before they're asked to sign things. I think we just need to keep pushing that as performers, to be asking for the script, especially if there's nudity in it, because it could be 90% of the script. You don't know. So just back to the stage. So perhaps some of you have never had to kiss anybody on stage. No tongue. I'm getting into practicalities here. There is absolutely no need for it, and you shouldn't do it. It's kind of abusive to the other actor.
Not kind of abusive, it's totally abusive to the other actor.
Yeah, you're right, it is totally abusive to the other actor. So if you are in rehearsals and that scene comes up, you're rehearsing for the first time that scene where you and the other character have to kiss each other, and it's day one. Do you know what all I do is very quickly egg. And then you kind of start just getting used to each other. So that's all you need to do on that first time you run through. You don't need to do anything long. You don't feel there's no pressure to go in for that big kind of the whole shebang. So just a quick peck on the mouth is fine. So you've kind of broken that sort of first barrier of, especially if you haven't worked with the actor before, you've gone, hey, I'm trusting you, you trust me. Let's just, lock lips for a very short time. And then as you get into sort of running scenes, you might just do that a little bit longer and a little bit longer. But there is absolutely no situation where you stick your tongue in anybody else's mouth. And I'm sorry to be graphic here, but that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. One of the things we're here for. In fact, I have had that done to me on stage with another actor, and it absolutely took me right out of the play, and I was utterly furious. I actually nearly went, and it was a comedy, and I nearly went, what the hell? What did you do that for? And I was absolutely, I said, after the play, I said, don't you ever do that to me on stage. That is, it's crossed the line, and it is not necessary. And look, we've all seen, you can do good kissing, you can do great kissing without ever getting that intimate with somebody.
What would you do if a director asked you to?
On stage?
Case by case basis.
Case by case. On stage, I still maintain it's not necessary. I still maintain that you could look really, really good at kissing, like you're really in love into somebody, into somebody, without sticking your tongue in their mouth. But then I have seen, of course, television where it's like a right close up of people and mangling tongues. And I guess that you have to go, you and the actor and the director have all agreed that that is what's great for the play. But if it's only one out of those three people who want it, I would have a problem with it.
I go to that special place, which is the professional place. It's when actors look into the mid-distance and get all the inspiration they want from just in the mid. It's that place, which is like anodyne nothing. That's where I go. Because
you mean when you kiss somebody?
Yeah, or go to a place that is. I just think professionalism. I think embarrassing situation, professional. Yeah. I don't want to be embarrassed. And
and I don't want to embarrass my fellow actor either.
So I was in a movie called Bitch Slap. In that movie, I worked with some really great people. One of them was a wonderful female model. She was about 20 at the time, and I was supposed to be the sugar daddy. Oh yeah, I love you, so horrible character. And there was a whole scene, a day where we did this whole scene where she was straddling me with like a Wonder Woman outfit, and I had a G-string and a kimono on. I mean, it's one of those things. It's a great film. Where we went in that thing was to talk about her family and talk about my family. We went there.
Oh, you as the actors?
Yeah, as the actor, because we're both in this alien situation, except we're both not quite kissing, but in a way it's
very intimate. You're in an intimate situation. So that is that's actually a really great thing to say, is to actually be. And I'm sure I wonder with a lot of the things you did in Outrageous Fortune and
I used to approach my sex scenes. I was actually probably a bit just being lazy, but I never used to put any time into it. And when sometimes you work with an actor that maybe you have a one-night stand with, so you would literally be like, "Hi, go into the room." They'd always give us a rehearsal. We were really lucky, but even in our rehearsal, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's sex scenes. We'll be okay on the day." It's only really working with somebody like Mark Beasley who he will come and sit in, and it's like he will choreograph every single beat, that I started realising working like that on a sex scene, like you would any other scene, down to beat to beat to, I'm going to kiss you here, frees you. But when you go to do it on the day, suddenly it actually frees you by doing
Yeah,
that.
'cause you know, at this point, this is what the camera needs to see.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Outrageous. I worked, my character was married to Tammy Davis, who was called Munter, and when we used to have sex together, he used to be renowned for having this huge cock. And Mark Beasley used to yell out to me, I want to hear that it's 6 inches inside of you. He would yell at these things to me, but he was being so specific when he was, he was being so specific and freeing us up then, so when we would hop on set, it would just, it could become play. It became really, really specific rather than just, okay, well, we'll be okay. I spent a lot of time doing that before I worked with somebody like him. And I think it really shows in the work too. It becomes more specific.
I mean, they can be quite fun and funny.
Exactly.
Because it's kind of ridiculous what we're doing.
From a directing point of view, they're like action sequences.
Yeah.
Really, that's how I mean, and you have to have a sequence.
Yeah.
There's no point in just, if you're just running the cameras, what is that, And of course the discipline of signing off on every shot means that you are constructing it. So as a director, that for me is, well, this is my job, I'll build it this way and shoot these shots this way, and you can see, the actor, will see the whole growth of the sequence and agree. That's my job to convince you. I don't want to be doing stuff that...
I think it kind of engaging the other actor in the process as well. If you can, it's a nice thing to do, or it sort of diffuses what potentially is an awkward situation.
I'll tell you what, then there's the other thing where we did, in Spartacus, we did a couple of things which were clearly, I remember doing this, a Roman brothel. It's a chance for everything to happen. And the people that we got to do the sequences where you see extreme, slow motion wine being broken over people's and all that sort of stuff. Well, they were all the people that were completely used to it. It was hilarious rehearsing those scenes with everybody in their cardigans and clothes and everything, and you'd sort of have to rehearse these entire sequences of kind of extreme stuff. But as you said, most of that came from Hamilton.
They were a club with.
Well, they were strip clubs. They were strippers and people who just. It was so pragmatic. Extraordinary.
But it is a different thing, you brought it up about the model and actor thing, and this too. It's a different thing when you're an actor because you've got your whole career to think of, and you need to be very careful about what ends up out there.
Well, so sorry, just the woman who played Alethea, what's her name? Do you remember? Actress, Australian actress, who first season I shot some material with her, and it was
Viva.
Yeah, Viva, and it was wonderful material. It was so beautiful and so dramatic and so psychologically fucked up. Everything was fantastic in it, but incredibly sexy and very, very hot. It was hot material, but it was gorgeous. But in the second season, she came to me and she said, I appear on YouTube all the time and that stuff, and I'm kind of stricken because I didn't see it at all as, it is beautiful stuff, but nevertheless it's really, really sort of erotic, and that's the thing, you have to balance it. You have to try and think ahead when you
Especially nowadays.
think about those scenes. So.
Can I open the floor? Has anybody got any burning questions? To what they're
Have to be
interested?
burning,
Anything?
of course. I can't be questions.
Yeah, burning. No, they can be just questions. Like anything practical? Yeah.
I just want to say that I think it's really important for you to take control of the process so that you feel like you have all the information that you need. And for me, that means extensive chats with the wardrobe department about if I'm going to have some modesty stuff on, I want to know what it is and I want to try it on beforehand so that
You're not arriving on the day and getting put in.
That's the worst thing.
Can I have a story about that? Like arriving on the day, not 21 years old, just out of drama school, had to do a nude scene where I've got to run and jump into a thing off a wharf. I'm like, all right, cool, we're going to do this, right? And I knew this was coming, and all they wanted was the character has an epiphany, strips down and runs and jumps into this thing. And I didn't know what you were supposed to wear because I've never done this thing before and no one told me what to expect. So turn up on the day, go into the wardrobe bus. Wardrobe goes like, all right, so I've got heaps of things for you to wear. It's just over there, and this was my first introduction into what they call a modesty patch, which is basically a G-string a nudity, all the straps cut off, and then 2-pay tape and a triangle, and then she explains to me, it's like, yep, so the bit along the top just goes along the top there, and then obviously the triangle thing just tucks under there, and then the tape just sticks it on there, so that, you know, you can be nude and no one has to see your junk. I was like, okay, sweet. She goes, I'll leave it to it. Cool. So she leaves, and I'm going, woo, sweet. So I'm looking at this modesty patch, and it's like a triangle, so the top bit's like that, and then it comes down to that bit there, and then there was that bit. And so like, where does that bit go? Because I see the tape ends there, but then there's an extra tail, and because I've never seen one of these things before, I was like, oh no, that's obviously supposed to be there. And then 5 minutes later, I'm still staring at it, going, oh my god, does that have to go? Holy shit, does that have to go up my ass? Like, is this how these things are done? But I was too scared to ask. I was like, because I'm not going to ask. Like, I look like an idiot. At the same time, wasn't comfortable about doing that. Suddenly all these questions like started, it's like, shit, does everyone do this? Like, every time I've seen a dude running in his nude, he got like this like G-string, like, you know, anchored into his like, is that how it's done? And I'm like, and I'm thinking, am I okay with this? You know, like, you know, how would I feel about myself if I like do this? And I spent 15 minutes in the truck just staring at this thing, just trying to figure out a way around it. And then there's all these knocks, like, you're right there, Fussy. Like, yeah. After a while, like, they came, was like, no, seriously, are you right? I'm just standing there, like, naked, but looking at this thing, and I'm like, where does that bit go? And she went, oh, she got out her scissors and just because her assistant had set it up, and because she didn't see it, and I was like, thank God. I've been the one guy in New Zealand. The story, remember the time that Fussy stuck the thing in his ass? So I was like,
remember the time Fussy told us a story about this?
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, just when you don't know if it's your first time, you know, in there, it can be quite daunting. So, you know, knowing. But the cool thing is about a lot of the wardrobe ladies is that, you know, a lot of them have done all this stuff before. They're like, and they're really cool about it. You know, they're really very impressed about it. And so you can like say, okay, you know, even if you need like one of those pep hugs, right? Cool, thanks. There were
moments
really
good.
good.
Where the men had to stand there and be fully buckled and naked. That was always a bit of a thing too. Yeah, exactly.
Well, because stuff happens for men.
Yeah.
Stuff happens on the temperature and at the time of the month.
That's right. That's right.
So when you're doing a full frontal play in the nude, I didn't think about this, but what are you going to do with the string? So, well, someone else that I've spoken to, she'll remain nameless, snipped it off. I didn't, I had to do a double fold, and also because I realised at the last minute, and I'm side stage, and I'm thinking, I need to think about this, it's going to show. Eve didn't know what tampons were. And the other thing is hair, right? I got criticised for being not shaven, which I thought was really interesting. It's like, it's paradise. She didn't have another woman, she didn't have another mirror. Why would I be shaven? They did the production subsequently, and apparently the woman shaved and it was all like, you know, in this really lovely sort of position. And it made it kind of like pornographic, because actually what it was actually just about two people being naked. And it was a costume, it was art.
Yeah, once you dress up. So we had the opposite problem in Sparta because we always had to have merkins because...
You know what a merkin is? Just like a pubic wig.
So Mr. Merkin Maker made a fortune at Sparta. But the thing about it, sorry, Scott, what was interesting on the set was that actually, according to wearing a merkin was like wearing a very small bikini bottom, so they actually sort of felt quite comfortable. Yeah. So we're all going, you know, I don't know where to look, I have to look over here. It's a very confronting situation. But
the hair thing is an issue.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, it may be that...
But it's a costume, you have to figure out what's right for your particular costume. And in my case, because it was Eve, it wasn't appropriate for me to shave. Because I'm a real theatre actor, right? So I'm like, I'm not going to shave, that's totally not authentic. So I also had the hairy armpits, you know. I went to Lady Jane Beach, I got into the idea of being naked all the time. You know, so Lady Jane Beach is obviously a famous nudist beach in Australia. But, you know, you have to do what's right for your character and for the art and the storytelling if you've signed a nudity contract and all that stuff. And if you feel confident, you know, and comfortable to do it. But if you don't, then, you know, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
You know what, I think, speaking about the contract there, I think that we should, on our next e-bulletin, put out this particular nudity clause, Anna, if we could.
Yeah.
So, you know, you'll get questions, whether you're going to, yes, no, you're going to accept full frontal nudity, full rear nudity including buttocks, yes or no, upper frontal including breasts, female, yes or no. Does the artist consent to use of stills of them appearing nude or semi-nude for publicity performance? Personally, I'd be saying no.
You need to own every aspect of the nudity.
Yeah. In fact, I'll make sure these go out on the e-bulletin. Everyone getting the e-bulletins? Yeah, okay. So read through that, because the stuff, this is the kind of stuff that is being scratched away at. So little clauses are being taken out. So, for instance, one that we've read recently is that the producer will... Yes, producers shall have the right, in the producer's sole discretion, to utilise a nude double of the producer's selection to appear in the nude and or to perform simulated sexual activity in lieu of the artist. Now, can you see how that is different too? The producer will only be entitled to use nude or semi... Oh no, that's stills.
Even so, that is clearly in lieu of the artist, unless you have as agreed by the artist in there.
Yes, you see what I mean?
Lieu of the artist,
It's these
can
little
mean
things.
anything. I can get anybody to do anything.
Yeah.
As a producer.
Okay, so don't let those things just go by. Take some power, know what you're signing, and have the discussion beforehand.
It's the kind of thing your agent should be able to help you with.
Yes.
And if they're not helpful, call the office.
And if you don't know whether they're being helpful enough, just ask all the questions. You know, ask them, have you, okay, can you arrange a meeting with me and the director? That kind of thing. If you think they've said, oh no, you're going to be fine, if they just say, you know, you're going to be fine, yes, I've discussed it, I don't think that's enough, really. And I think we've got ample evidence to...
You'll get leaned on.
Yeah, you will get leaned on, but
at
you
the most
particularly
vulnerable
don't
time.
want to get leaned on at work, right, on the day.
Just a question on that contractual thing about special conditions. I think there was a bit about in the e-bulletin a few weeks ago about whether special conditions can be added by the producer as well as the performer. Or can someone just clarify whether that should only be
Nudity
used by
shouldn't
the
be a
performer?
special condition. Right? Am I right there, Anna? Yeah.
Yeah, but hang on. Anybody can add anything to a contract as long as both parties agree.
Yes.
So
Well-
if I say I want a special condition,
Well,
I want
not,
this.
not if we're using the contract that has been negotiated by
Okay,
Equity
fair enough.
and
Can't you add
Spada,
things?
which has been fought over long and hard.
But can't you add things? Hasn't you?
You can't, in that contract, you can't take the nudity, whole nudity clause and put it in as a special condition.
No, that's not what I'm saying. You can add things onto that. You can accept the entire nudity clause and then say, but I will in this case do this.
Yes, you could with negotiation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah. Any other questions? Anything you're curious about? Anything you think might... Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When I get told that a part may have come up for me, that I have an audition, especially for maybe these American shows that are here at the moment, like Spartacus, I was auditioning for that, and I was told there may be some nudity, and I get the script, and I don't really want to do nudity, but I really like the script.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to go into the audition and at the audition say, I'm not happy with the nudity, but I'd quite like to do the audition, just on the hope that maybe somebody might see me and think she's so good. Yeah.
I'm telling you
Don't
right
even
now,
bother doing
don't
it?
even bother.
Okay.
Not on that level. They're just not,
Mm.
you know, and it wasn't, that was the aspect of the show.
Yeah.
It was an aspect of the show that was integral to the show, and if you didn't
Shouldn't have
work
done
that out,
Yeah.
then, you know, it's kind of like, and it is hard-nosed in that sense.
Mm.
If they want someone who's going to be prepared to be naked in this particular scene, then that's going to happen, because they were trying to push the envelope all the time.
Yeah.
What if it's not Spartacus, like it's not a show where sex is a major part of the show, if it's for like a feature film or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
does that change it?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Without
different. I think
before
that's
your
different.
audition?
Yeah, I think that's probably different. You could engage with the producers or directors on that one if they like you, but that's different. Features are a different category, aren't they? We're talking about much more product.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Sorry. So say there's something then, like a feature film. I'm asked to audition for it, and I really liked the script, but I know there might be some nudity. I don't really want to do the nudity, but I think, oh, if I go along and I do a good enough read, then maybe there are options around it. I would need to speak up at some point and say,
yes. Is it I thought the audition?
You should go and ride a horse.
Yeah, I go ride the horse. Yeah.
So, and what? Well, I think if you're given something as loose as there may be some nudity, I think you should do the audition,
right?
And then, but make sure that the form that you fill out at the audition
has what nudity written on it.
Or yes, or also, are you prepared to do nudity? You could something like, this would need to be discussed. Don't feel like you have to say yes, no.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
You know,
to be negotiated
by agent. So do you hear what I've said there? Yeah. If they go no, it might just be wiped out completely. Or yes, then you're open to anything.
But this comes down to that question about power, doesn't it?
Yes.
You know, and I know I've shared the story with you before, that basically sometimes when an actor or an actress reaches a certain point, they suddenly have more power. And so then they can say things. Whereas I think, I don't know, I'm assuming for the majority of us, we don't necessarily always have that power.
That's why I think
that's why
preparation,
communication,
preparation.
Yes, but it is. It's also part of us educating ourselves as well in terms of what our rights are. I think you know, for quite a long time, a lot of us haven't read our contracts. We don't really know what we're obliged to do, and so it's part of that is empowering ourselves. You know, to know
doing the research.
Yeah, to know what's professional and what's not.
And no.
Somebody had a
Oh,
question
yeah,
on the back?
This might be kind of stupid, but is there ever the chance that you end up on set completely naked with someone else who's completely naked and you have to be on top of each other? Like, is that?
Yes.
That would be, but that would be very rare that you'd actually be bumping genitals.
Yeah.
Very, very rare. You'd be covered up.
And you would certainly have to have discussed it.
Yeah, just because my concern would be if you get that close with someone else, like I'm not a doctor, but you potentially could contract something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's health and safety issue. I think that would be incredibly rare. You would, as Fasi was saying, you've got modesty patches for both men and women.
I tell you what, even, I know I keep going back to Spartacus, but other shows too, even if you're involved in any way in anything that's going to be intimate, the makeup people will be saying, do you want a shower, do you want this, all of that will be...
I did Equus on stage and we were in that situation, but we were very careful that we didn't touch. We were able to cheat it, but we were both naked and nose between your legs.
And it is art, isn't it? It's an illusion. You want to hopefully create the illusion. And that's the other thing. It's about, I like what you were saying, because I think it is actually about going, it's about creating a piece of art. It's not pornography. And unfortunately, because of the, the realm of reality TV and stuff, it's starting to become an issue.
It's not pornography, it's HBO.
And the interesting thing is that I was having a relationship with that woman and we still did not touch on stage.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Don't bring your personal life onto the stage.
She actually asked me a question, which was awesome. But I do have a question now. Is it becoming more common, or the modesty patches are there, but are you being asked to kind of touch in any situation? Because I have, like, Shameless, which is in the US, for example, there are some scenes I'm like, I shoot things and I know you can't get that angle without there being some kind of contact.
But maybe that's in the agreement, maybe that's agreed. I don't know, I can't answer.
I would hazard a guess though that even as though it looks like, yes, there might be contact, but I bet that there is something in between them.
Yeah.
And quite often they might sign a thing that says that they can be digitally, you can remove things digitally, you can remove patches and stuff digitally. So
if someone was wearing a G-string, you could remove.
You can also add things. Trust me, you can add muscles. You can take people's weight away. This is all real. So that might be the way they did it. You never know. I've done shots at a distance where we've enhanced aspects of someone. You see it? He was fine with it. Don't you see what I mean? vigilant and write everything down, you have to think of literally everything, because the truth about film and TV these days is if you can imagine it and if you can afford it, you can do it. Those two things. And so, you know, it's all about, it all comes down to the same thing we're talking about. You just have to empower yourself and get it on. And honestly, if you put a director on the spot, so what are you going to see here? 9 times out of 10, the director will go, and just freak out. So it's about them, get them to be the ones that need to sort out what exactly is going on.
It can be quite tricky asking that, but you do have to do it.
First ADs can be helpful people.
Oh, they're great, yeah.
Because, for example, there's a girlfriend of mine who works all the time in New Zealand. She's actually given me permission to share the story. Her name's Katrina Brown. You probably know her. So she's a fantastic woman, really experienced actress. She was asked to do nudity after having children, and she turned it down because she knew that actually she wouldn't get a choice about where they stopped and started, so she said no. But she's also got probably a bit more power and maturity and stuff. But what she talked about was exactly that problem, is knowing when to stop and saying, actually, I don't want to continue. That's it. And so there was one guy that was like a director standing there watching her, and she had to brush past him when she was naked. And she had to say to the first AD, can you get him out?
To brush past the director?
Yes, because he came in, even though he wasn't supposed to be in there. In the previous scenes, he was on the monitor, and then he comes in the room. Anyway, Katrina gave me permission to share that. But I think that's the kind of stuff. And she's really well-known actress, very experienced, but she still was like, oh, she needed help. She was like, first AD, please help me. Yeah.
I was really lucky. The first show I worked on was private, so and the professionalism was excellent. In fact, my first week, the first scene I did was that brothel scene. And that brothel scene, and it was incredible. I was standing there going, oh my God, what is going on? Everything was going on, but the wardrobe, they were standing there. They had robes around everybody, literally, until it was, go, action. As soon as it was cut, they were back in. Everyone was covered up all of the time. But the interesting thing was I got asked to do a photo shoot for the show. And this is where the scope creep thing comes in, because and the people who did the photo shoot were externals, EPK.
Oh, right, nothing to do with us.
Nothing to do with us, hired by Florida, because they came in from America to do this photo shoot, and I was just, you go and do the photo shoot, we need a radiator, and we'll get some women to join in, and so I went on, and I thought it was just going to be a standard photo shoot. Get your pics out, bang, off you go. No, next minute we were laying down, and this one was on top of me, and I had to effectively throw her around, and one of them was extremely unhappy with it. I think in the end, none of it was used because there was so much uproar from one person about it. But that was interesting because I saw the professionalism of Spartacus and the directors, and this external team came in, and it was totally
Do you have any other questions?
There is a question, along the lines of what you described. Once again, Sparty, I was asked to, as an old aristocrat, having it with a 21-year-old naked slave girl, and the director said, "Okay, I want you to interact."
That all?
Yeah, and we were drunk, So I thought, oh. I looked and thought, well, here's a 64-year-old old guy, okay, I'm dressed up in the scene, but I'm a 64-year-old guy with this 21-year-old naked girl. And I thought, and I said, I'd reassure that actually you're okay for various reasons, and she was okay. We had a bit of a dialogue and all that. But had we not shared, a little bit of about myself to her, then she was absolutely fine.
No one talked to you, the whole group, and tell you what was going on, and actually talk about it?
Well, they said at that particular scene, they said, we need it to be a bit more.
So, it's interesting, because...
what's my liability on that? Say, had we, had post that scene, the young girl had said, I didn't actually like that.
I
I
think
think what's my liability?
That's another good question.
Yeah.
I think it'd be. I don't know. I think it would be safe.
I
Generally,
suppose that you-
unless you did something objectionable, which I'm sure you didn't. But what surprises me, I mean, what surprises me is that nobody gave you the lowdown, gave everybody. For me, it's all about saying things up front. So if we were all doing a scene now where everybody was going, it was a big orgy scene, right? I'd be saying, and I was directing it, we're not going to do this, by the way.
Bonding
I would be telling you exactly, everybody in the same moment, exactly what is going to happen, what I want to do, and that's what I'd be doing. And I'm surprised that nobody did that. That was probably not but
One of the things, though, that I question is that once you're in the scene, and the scene, for example, it's slightly different, but there was a lot of that going on in Cyprus, and you're doing your bit, and you're doing your bit with the main lead actors, and that's all happening, etc. But then, you know, take 1, take 2, take 3, the first ADs, or whoever, walking around trying to help make things happen. Sometimes they're directing.
I suppose so. Stand over here and be in the shot.
Well, got a question over the back there? Yes, hi.
Just like being new, Michael, maybe you can answer this. What is acceptable for an actor to say? Like, let's say you get to a point and you've rehearsed in your head where your boundaries are.
When you're rehearsing something for the stage?
No, just if you're in a situation where you are feeling like you've been pushed.
Yes.
You know in your mind the decision you've made.
Yes.
So how do you communicate that to a director who may be pressured, who doesn't have time to talk to you at the moment, or...
I still think you have the right to stop and say, excuse me, I'd just like to stop for a moment, could we have a word, please? Yes. And you just step aside with the director and say, this was not what we agreed, I'm feeling very uncomfortable about this, I'm not happy about going on.
Sorry, potentially that's the first AD you might say.
Yes, it might be the
only
first
that
AD.
some directors sit over there
Right.
on the monitors. Some I don't do that, but other people do. So the conduit is the first AD. But
does everybody know what a first AD is?
But it's exactly that. You must do that.
So, yeah,
and they have to be, unless they're not on their game or not doing the right job.
I mean, a good first AD. I mean, in that case that I told you about with Kat, he actually also noticed it happening.
Yeah. So
he also came over and he was actually very caring. So a good first AD will also notice and have meaningful conversation. And actually be able to say, actually that wasn't what's agreed. But it doesn't always happen because sometimes the first AD is under pressure as well.
It's the ethic of the entire production if you think about it.
Yes.
If you've got
Of course, not
it all
everybody
comes
is
from the top.
ethical.
Things trickle down from the top. If the production company has a loose idea and all of that, then you need to make sure that you're in there saying no.
I think if you've, what helps is if you've set up from the start your modus operandi. So if you've been really clear, you've checked your nudity clause, you've asked for a talk with the director, you've talked to the wardrobe, so that's been clear all the way along that you are, on board with the process. There are boundaries. You're not going to do anything. It's sort of like signalling that this is the way you work, that they can't just treat you any old way. It's sort of acting with professionalism from the start, and then you expect it from them. Might not always get it, but I think that would definitely help.
And I think in the industry, we're getting a lot of the independent things coming through. People just going, look, we've got no budget, we're just going to do it, we're not going to have contracts, we're going to have a sex scene. And that's when people get into trouble, when like Michael says it's not written down. And come back to Tandi, if you right at the start say, oh, well, look, I'm not going to do this sex scene in the film unless it's written down and we know what it is, then you're indicating where you're coming from the start.
That is not about being difficult. That is about being professional. And look after yourself, because your instincts are right. When something is being pushed past the boundaries you agreed to, you can feel it, you know it. So that is being, I think people give you a lot more respect if you're professional. You're your own brand. Yeah. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question about maybe kind of around nudity, but also about how you're being directed to do something. Like I had a situation recently where it was 48 hours, so it's obviously time pressure, everybody's stressed out, but it's you have to look after yourself. How would you go about just bringing that up? It was a situation, which I wasn't happy with, but you've got 2 hours left to shoot.
And it involved sexuality and stuff.
It was like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like quite a phallic moment. It was just really gross. I was really, really uncomfortable. It wasn't like sexual or nudity or anything like that. Like, well, slightly sexual, but yeah, it was still...
And you were involved in the scene?
Yeah, I was involved in the scene. It was just something I wasn't happy with myself being on screen. And I said, does this really have to be in it? And they just said, just do it. Just do it. You know?
In this situation, you can quite easily say no.
Yeah.
That's
what I,
you know, because
yeah.
No,
equally...
find someone else to do it.
Yeah, I was like, after that...
Or do it in a different way.
Exactly, it's a 48-hour film, and that didn't have to be there, didn't add anything to it, so it's like...
Yeah, in the same way that they can say, just do it, you can say...
No. Okay.
And then you make the square one, and
Okay.
then... Just,
Can I just observe at this point, related to that the culture for actors in New Zealand is quite different from actors overseas, and we are very keen to please here, and people will think we're assholes if we say no to something, and they might. But what we all together as a group need to do is slowly effect change and take back some of our power. And some of that has to be that actors are integral in the creative process, and we are allowed to say no as well as yes. And it's not that we're being assholes, it's just that we have a really important voice on the set like everybody else does. And so that kind of thing is incredibly awkward, but I think, you know, the more that we talk about it and consider it and think of options for next time when it happens, you know, the better our industry as a whole will get.
Yeah, and it's nice to have that kind of confirmation from people
Yeah.
who are like, you know, they're like, well, Jennifer Ward-Lealand said I'd say no, so...
No, I don't mind if they want to call me. I'm like, what did you do? You made her do what? I'm calling them. Yes.
So what if the shooting's done and then you then realize that's not in the contract and then
Well, then you will probably be getting into a slightly legal stoush. I imagine you'd be going to your... But then how would you know if it was in the film until you saw it?
If it wasn't
If it's already shot, so you've known it was shot, well...
It's not in your contract.
Wouldn't you
And then
read
why-
your contract though? Wouldn't you read your contract?
Yeah.
But if it's
Why would
still-
you do
if it's
something
still-
that isn't in
it's
your
not
contract?
It's not in your contract.
Sometimes
If you were
what
tricked
happens
in
though,
some way, you mean.
especially the independent film scene, I think sometimes people will take extra footage and they'll be like, oh, we're just going to take some extra shots beyond the shot.
Yeah.
So I guess...
Yeah.
And then
Well, there's a
suddenly
second
it's
camera doing something you don't know what's
exactly,
doing.
and you don't know what. And sometimes if you are really in the scene and you're really doing it, sometimes you're not actually thinking, or hopefully you're not really thinking about what's going on. You're trusting them, and if you've agreed to it. I think the problem is it's about the integrity of the filmmakers themselves, and I think it comes back to contract. What Jennifer was saying is, just make sure that, and that's not even just about nudity. That's actually also about having a contract. Because half the independent films don't even have contracts, and that's where half the problem starts. I think is actually having a contract.
So is it your right to like review what's been shot?
Unfortunately not. Once
No,
they
it's
have
not.
the footage, it's within their rights
Yeah,
to use it.
but I would probably have a conversation with my agent and say, look, I'm concerned that the camera kept rolling at this point and I'm not really sure what they've got. I need you to speak to the production company and to make sure that what I was contracted for is actually what is on the screen. Darian.
Well, this is what happened to Frank the other day, my son. He was doing an ad, and he got there, I think it was for Vodafone, and suddenly he was asked to do the scene on the toilet. And, you know, being a good professional, you know, and he felt really uncomfortable about it. And so it was filmed, and he came back, he was really upset, and he spoke to his agent, and then his agent asked that they cut that up.
Because he had not been told about it.
No, not at all.
Well, again, we keep coming back to the same thing, that there's a pressure exerted on you in the moment, and that's the worst time to have it on you. So the more work you can do beforehand, the better. One more question, and then I'm going to let these people...
Yeah, what happens, I think you brushed on this, when you get sexually harassed by the director, you know, what are your rights? Does anyone ever sue the director for that?
Most production companies have a sexual harassment section in the contract, and you have to sign that. No, not have to sign it. You have to have reviewed it, and there is a procedure there is a process to go through. So with SVP, I think there's a sexual harassment. All of them. Actually, all of them. All theatre companies, professional theatre companies have sexual harassment policy. So, and there is a particular route that you follow to deal with that. But obviously, if that's something happening on a day-to-day basis and is making the working situation difficult, you can go to the union or you can go to your producer. Yeah. Yes, one more.
Just before I ask, I just want to say thank you so much to you all for sharing some of the quite personal stories with us, particularly some of the ones where you were put in really vulnerable situations. I'm so sorry that you went through that, and I'm really grateful that you're sharing it with us so that we might not go through that ourselves. So thank you. My question was just about what equity provides in terms of advice. Like, what can I ask equity? Can I ask them about, I've been given this contract by an independent film, like, can you have a look at it? Or I've been asked to do this?
You can. Yes, if you can. If it's something that your agent has vetted or you feel like there might be some problems in it, you can. We have Equity has a lawyer that we have who works for us all the time. So it's, that kind of thing can go to.
And would you have to pay for that kind of thing? Or?
It's a service for the member. Yeah.
Keep your fees up.
Just recently, things that we've done are people who haven't been paid, even if it's through their agent, haven't been paid their rollover fees or particular fees that they're owed, and we've gone into bat for them. So I think we've got, in the last a year and a half, I think we've got like $60,000, $50,000 back from members. Yeah.
Can I just say on that sexual harassment note, I was quite interested once when I was younger. I was on a film set and the producer asked me out to dinner. And I thought, at the time I thought, oh, that's very sweet. He's being friendly. Yeah, how friendly. And then I thought about it and I thought, I'm just not quite sure what's going on. And I mentioned it to the line producer who was furious, and mentioned it to the director, who was so furious with the guy who'd asked me out, and that just went away. It disappeared. But it was a learning thing for me. I didn't realise that was really out of line for him to have done that. So it was, yeah.
So yeah, I've been sexually harassed before, but not on a film.
Right. It's insidious. Yeah. That sort of, you don't quite know where
and
the line
they get a position of power, and then they think they can do this to you. So I'm just interested in, hearing your story.
Well, on that note, could we please thank our wonderful speakers? Everybody for coming along to. It's been a really interesting topic, hasn't it? And I hope you've got something useful, lots of practical tips to take away. And obviously we've got another one probably in another couple of months, so we'll probably be doing something on finding your own works. We'll also be looking at one for dealing with characters where you are incredibly emotionally vulnerable, where you have to go to places that are uncomfortable emotionally. I think that will be a really useful green room. So do look out for that on your e-bulletin. And you'll see on every e-bulletin there's a clause of the week. Have you seen that? Read it. really read it. It's about education. Tandi made a very good point. The more educated we are, the more power we have.
It's great to read that because it's less boring than reading the whole content.
Yeah. Pause a week and you go, oh, okay, right. I'm not supposed to be on 16 hours a day on set. Stuff like that. So have a wonderful Sunday night. We'll look forward to seeing you at the next green room. Kia ora.